Welcome, everyone, to Mindful Brew.
Great to be here. We're the place that blends ancient wisdom at the speed of innovation.
Exactly. And today we're jumping into something pretty provocative, a real thought starter. Is the longevity movement just another materialist trap?
Ooh, yeah, that's a big one. It feels like longevity is everywhere right now, doesn't it?
It really does. You've got these high-profile figures like Bryan Johnson, with his super intense blueprint routine.
Right, the tech entrepreneur who's kind of turned his body into this massive science project.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's the rise of things like the Longevity Olympics. It feels like overcoming aging has properly hit the mainstream.
It definitely has. It's moved from maybe a niche scientific interest to something a lot more people are talking about and, well, actively pursuing.
But that's where our question comes in. Does this intense focus on extending life, on optimizing the body, does it start to look a bit like, well, materialism? Like our endless pursuit of stuff.
That's a fascinating angle. Are we just trying to acquire more years, more health, in the same way we might chase possessions or status?
And maybe, just maybe, is it a way to kind of sidestep the really big questions, like confronting our own mortality, which is, let's face it, a fundamental part of being human? Does it distract from deeper, maybe spiritual needs?
So the core tension is genuine life enhancement versus maybe a fear-driven escape from death using all this new tech and science.
That's exactly what we want to unpack in this deep dive. We'll look at the drivers behind the movement, consider if it really is materialism in a new guise, and think about the philosophical side of pushing against life's natural limits.
Sounds good. So maybe we should start with Bryan Johnson. He seems like a key figure here. His background's in tech, right?
Yeah, neurotechnology. And he's basically applying that same, relentless innovation mindset to his own biology. It's radical.
Totally. It's this mix of cutting-edge science, tech, really rigorous personal discipline, extreme diets, exercise, constant monitoring, data-driven life extension.
His whole philosophy seems to be about using human ingenuity to transcend our biological constraints. It's very forward-looking in a way.
And very public, which then links into things like the Longevity Olympics, I suppose. What's the idea there?
Well, it seems to be a platform to sort of celebrate achievements in health span and longevity, showcase what's possible in terms of maintaining vitality, both physical and mental, as people age.
Okay, so it's promoting health, vitality.
Yeah.
Sounds positive on the face of it. Most people want to be healthy for longer, right?
Absolutely. Who wouldn't want more healthy, energetic years? But that brings us back to the motivation question. Is the main driver here enhancing the quality of life we have?
Or is it fundamentally, perhaps unconsciously, about pushing back against the fear of aging and ultimately death?
And that's the perfect segue into the materialism idea. Let's define that a bit. We usually think of it as wanting stuff, right? Consumerism.
Right. Prioritizing physical possessions, status symbols, maybe physical comfort over, say, spiritual or existential concerns.
So the critical question becomes, could this pursuit of longevity, especially the way someone like Johnson does it, be seen as just another flavor of that? Are we trying to buy or engineer our way out of a fundamental reality?
How so? Where's the parallel with consumerism?
Well, think about the focus, the supplements, the specific, often expensive fitness regimes, the gadgets, the tests, the technological interventions.
Ah, I see. It does start to feel a bit like consuming products and services, but aimed at the body itself, investing huge resources, time, money into things that promise more life.
Exactly. It's almost like the body becomes the ultimate consumer product, something to be optimized and upgraded, potentially indefinitely.
And what does that do to our understanding of life? If we get hyper-focused on the metrics years lived, biological age scores, physical performance stats.
Does it risk becoming superficial? Do we lose sight of the deeper questions, meaning purpose, connection, the actual experience of living?
Yeah, measuring the length, but maybe missing the width or the depth. It could inadvertently promote a view where life's value is its duration, not its richness.
And that feels quite materialistic in that philosophical sense, focusing purely on the physical, the quantifiable.
Which then leads to the next big question. Is this focus, this potential materialism, also a way of avoiding mortality?
It seems plausible, doesn't it? The sheer amount of energy and focus required for some of these longevity protocols, it could certainly keep you busy.
Like a massive, all-consuming project that leaves little room for existential dread. A coping mechanism, perhaps.
Maybe. Facing death, our own finiteness, it's one of the most profound and often uncomfortable human experiences. Is optimizing our telomeres just a high-tech way to avoid thinking about it?
But the irony is, isn't our awareness of mortality part of what gives life its shape and meaning? Knowing our time is limited often fuels our values, our relationships, our drive to achieve things.
Precisely. It's not just a bug, it's a feature, in a way. Mortality defines the human condition and makes moments precious, choices meaningful.
So if the goal becomes escaping death at all costs, are we actually flattening the experience of life, missing out on the richness that comes from embracing our finitude?
Potentially diminishing the very thing we claim to want more of a meaningful life. It's a paradox, isn't it?
It really is. But okay, let's play devil's advocate. Is it only about materialism and fear? Could there be, perhaps, a spiritual dimension to wanting to live longer and healthier?
That's a really important counterpoint. I mean, surely not everyone pursuing longevity is just running scared or obsessed with metrics.
Right. Maybe for some it's less about not dying and more about living more fully, having more time to learn, to grow, to contribute, to experience, enhancing the quality, not just quantity.
So shifting the focus from mere survival or escaping death to a deeper engagement with life itself, using the extra time and vitality for something meaningful.
Yeah, and in that sense, the process of pursuing health and longevity could actually prompt deeper reflection, not distract from it. Well, if you start thinking seriously about wanting more healthy years, you might naturally ask, what for? What values do I want to live by? What relationships matter? What legacy do I want to leave?
Okay. So instead of an evasion, it becomes a catalyst, confronting your aspirations and maybe even your fears because you're thinking about extending your time.
Exactly. And this connects to the idea of embracing mortality too, doesn't it? Maybe accepting death as natural, paradoxically, frees you up to live more fully now.
Philosophers like Heidegger talked about being toward death, suggesting that acknowledging our finitude is key to living authentically. It creates urgency, focus.
Right. So maybe the goal isn't infinite life, but living the life we have with more awareness, more presence, more appreciation, which good health can certainly support.
And many spiritual or wisdom traditions actually emphasize health, don't they? Not as an end in itself, but as a foundation.
Definitely. Think about various Eastern holistic approaches, yoga, meditation, certain martial arts. Physical well-being is often seen as crucial for mental clarity and spiritual development.
So in that context, striving for longevity isn't necessarily materialistic. It could be integrated into a spiritual framework, aiming for a longer, healthier life to better fulfill your potential, deepen self-understanding, connect with others, or the divine.
It becomes a means to a potentially deeper end, rather than just the end itself. It's about having the vessel, the healthy body and mind, to pursue that deeper journey for longer.
So it's really complex. It seems the longevity movement could be driven by materialism and fear for some, but for others it might represent a kind of spiritual quest for a fuller, more meaningful existence.
Yeah, the surface actions, the diets, the tech might look similar, but the underlying intention could be vastly different. It's nuanced.
Absolutely. But there's another layer we haven't touched on much yet, the ethical side, particularly around access and equality.
Ah, yes, that's a huge concern. Because let's be honest, a lot of these advanced longevity interventions, the kind Bryan Johnson champions, they require significant resources, money, time, access to specialized knowledge and tech.
Right. So does this create a new kind of divide, a longevity gap between the rich, who can afford these treatments, and everyone else?
It certainly risks exacerbating existing inequalities, doesn't it? If living a significantly longer, healthier life becomes a luxury commodity, that raises some serious ethical questions about fairness and justice.
The commodification of longevity itself. Is it right to turn extending human life into a market where only some can afford to participate fully?
It puts a responsibility on the movement, I think. If the goal is genuinely about enhancing human life, shouldn't the focus also be on making basic health improvements and maybe some of these advancements more accessible and equitable?
Promoting inclusivity, ensuring that the benefits aren't just hoarded by a select few, maybe emphasizing the foundational things, diet, exercise, stress management, community that are perhaps more universally accessible.
And focusing on that holistic view, again, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health for everyone, not just optimizing biological markers for those who can pay. A healthier society overall, not just longer-lived individuals.
So wrapping this up, it's clear this longevity quest is incredibly multifaceted. It definitely brushes up against materialism, maybe even springs from it sometimes.
Yeah, the focus on the physical, the metrics, the consuming of health products, that's certainly there. And the potential evasion of mortality is a powerful undercurrent too.
But it's not just that. It also seems it can represent something deeper for some people, a genuine desire to live more fully, to explore potential, which could even be framed as a spiritual drive.
A complex interplay of our modern technological abilities, our ancient fears, and maybe our enduring search for meaning.
And perhaps that leaves us with a final thought to ponder. Maybe the ultimate value isn't found in simply stretching out the timeline.
Right. Maybe the real richness comes from the depth of our experience, the quality of our connections, the meaning we create within the time we have, whatever its length.
And ironically, perhaps embracing our mortality, not fighting it endlessly, is what truly allows us to live most profoundly, moving beyond mere materialism to something, well, more meaningful.
Definitely some powerful food for thought there.
Indeed. Well, that brings us to the end of this deep dive here on Mindful Brew.
Where we always aim to blend that ancient wisdom with the speed of innovation.
If you found this conversation engaging, please do hit subscribe, give us a like. It genuinely helps other people find the show.
And don't forget, for more insights and to continue the conversation, you can sign up for our free newsletter over at www.mindfulbrew.co.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Until next time, keep exploring.
And keep brewing those mindful thoughts.